My name is Danny Shader. I'm the CEO of Good Technology, and I've spent my career working in the Valley in various startups, actually a series of startups, two of which have been acquired by two other larger companies. Good is a 4.5-year-old company. It was started in March of 2000 by a Stanford Business School grad, and it was started as a consumer company. It made plug-in modules for handspring visors like a music player. We were growing the business, but we weren't growing at the rate we expected, and we also pursued a strategy shift that was driven by a technology shift. At the same time, we also realized we needed to add a lot more sales resources, and we needed to do it within a limited amount of budget. So we decided we would lay off the hardware engineering team, some of the software engineers who were highly tied to that specific hardware, while we were hiring other software engineers and hiring more salespeople. We also decided to make a mandatory salary cut of 10%. It was across the board. It was everybody, including the exec staff. And that was not a fun decision to have to make. This was completely rational. It was in everybody's best interest. We were saving jobs. It wouldn't matter a lot to people. So we'd individually briefed, in a very well orchestrated way, briefed the individuals involved. We gave them very generous packages. We did a bunch of things I think make sense, like among others, giving people multiple years to exercise their options, waiving the requirement they exercise soon, because obviously they weren't going to have the cash. Things that signaled that we cared about them, gave them reasonable salary continuations, extended health benefits, all the kinds of things that, having been laid off in my past, I cared about. So I think the room took that really well. Then I said, and by the way, I've made one other decision, which is we're going to cut salaries by 10%. Total silence, and just looks in my face like, people look at me like, you've got to be kidding. And I explained all the rationale, and the meeting broke, and immediately people were like, they were walking away angry. They were, it was just, body language was terrible, and morale in the building just went. And every conversation about everything ended up, at that point, somehow having something to do with the salary cut. There's a sacred trust that employees and management need to have together, and one of the tenets of that you don't mess with is people's salaries. I had absolutely violated people's trust, and they were pissed. I thought, we're going to power through this. People will get over it, they'll understand. But it festered and got worse, and because you start resentment. Startups are all about people coming together to do something impossible because they trust one another and they believe in what they're doing. You poke a hole in that lattice, to mix metaphors, the whole thing starts to unravel. And so then I was in this position of not really identifying with the employees' view on this. Frankly, thinking, my first reaction was, that seems really selfish on the part of the employees, that they're not interested in the greater good. And also thinking, wow, I've made this commitment. I got to show courage to these people. I got to show courage to my board. So I went back to the board and I said, look, we've got to reinstate, but we won't do it for the execs. And then we tied the execs' reinstatement to significant milestones in the business plan. I got in front of the company. I told them, I basically said, look, I was wrong. Look, I want to do the right thing here. It has took at least 12 months. At least 12 months till that was clear. Probably 18 months. And there are probably people here upstairs, who've been here long timers who probably still in the back of their mind have some corner of, can I really trust this guy? And that's unfortunate. There's that line about reputations are hard won and easily lost. Don't mess with people's salaries. You can raise them, but don't ever lower them. That's sort of the limited lesson. The bigger lesson is great startups are about trust. I interpreted that trust to mean everybody would want to save some more jobs, but there's no particular person associated with that, so it's a very abstract notion. So I think I've got more color around what the trust thing means, so that's an important lesson. I think there's a lesson that all CEOs need to learn, which is you're running the company. So it doesn't matter what your board's telling you to do. You've got to do the right thing, and the board's got to decide if they want to support you or not. That doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to them, because oftentimes they have input that you're going to miss. But if you do something because you think they think it's a good idea, and everybody quits, you're not solving anybody's problem. It's your job to do the right thing.